Hi everyone, welcome back. So let's move to the next session. Next speaker is Ida Strom. Ida is currently a senior product designer at Mercury, designing financial technology products for startups and internal compliance and support teams. Her presentation title is Designing Financial Technology Products. Ida-san, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Let's see. Wait.
Okay, great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Please start your presentation.
Yeah, awesome. Do you want me to share the screen or?
Yes, please share screen.
Okay, perfect. Let's see. So you should be able to see.
Yeah.
Do you see it now?
Yeah. Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. Yeah, so hi, I'm Ida, and I'm super excited to be here today and talk about my journey as a designer. I grew up in Sweden, and I'm currently based out of San Francisco, California. And I started my design career a couple of years ago, and I didn't really think about designing in financial technology space or what that would be like, but I got really excited about it when I got a call from Mercury, which is a fintech startup in San Francisco. And I think the first thing I thought about was what me working as a designer at the bank that Mercury is. And it wasn't something that I had been thinking about before, but I got the call and I started thinking about it, and they got me hooked. And I wanted to talk about my journey in financial technology and what got me really excited about it. So I think what's interesting is as more and more industries have been targeted with digital disruption, and banking has pretty much looked the same for the last 20, 30, 50, almost 100 years. And I think this is a really unique opportunity for designers to start reimagining what financial technology and banking might look like. So when you think about banking, you might think about suits, long lines, bad websites, fraud. This is typically the idea of what banking is for many people. And you might even think about something like handshakes. There's like a lot of men doing handshakes in suits. And just lots and lots and lots of handshakes. And this is kind of the idea I had about banking too before I got the call from Mercury. So today I wanted to sort of talk about 4 reasons to be a designer in fintech and financial technology, and what that impact that I have had on my career as a designer. So yeah, I think the first reason that I wanted to talk about was reshaping an industry, and sort of what I mentioned before. This industry has been, a really, really deep history, hundreds of years of just not really reshaping itself, being the same way over and over. And I think one of the most amazing challenges as a designer is having an impact on the world and making change and creating innovation. And since it hasn't been really touched, there's a huge opportunity to sort of reimagine what fintech and what banking is at its core. And I think this is where designers can come in and really take a new look at banking and fintech and make it even better. So I think a lot of media, like what happened with the media landscape about 10 years ago with Facebook and Instagram and a lot of those companies sort of reimagining media, this is what we potentially might be able to do now with banking. So yeah. And I think what's interesting too is a lot of the traditional companies are starting to become financial service companies as well. So you can look at the last few years with, for example, Uber, who are launching a credit card, or Apple have a credit card as well. And there's a lot of talk around how every company eventually will have a financial technology sector or financial technology vertical that's going to be their core revenue source. So for example, Apple, you might think about them as a technology company creating laptops and phones, but today they also have a credit card with MasterCard, and that makes them able to integrate this financial technology service in their field. So yeah, that's sort of some of interesting things happening in the startup and technology space, and why I think also financial technology is going to become really huge. There's this really good talk that I can share later with those who are interested, that talks about how every company will be a fintech company in the future. And some of these new technologies that are coming up. So this is the company I work for, Mercury. We are building a business bank for startups, and we are specialized in creating financial technology for startups. And there are a lot of upcoming companies that are also putting a lot of value into design. And yeah, Ramp is another one, Stripe is another one, Cash App, who are really understanding the underlying need for design and how design can be a differentiator here. I think a lot of old school banks and financial services hasn't really been taking design, design hasn't had a seat at the table. They've been sort of not prioritized over business needs or technology needs and stuff. So, but we are starting to see a lot of these up and coming companies who are prioritizing design and seeing how that can really have a huge impact on their trajectory as a company and business and how they build products as well. So Mercury, for example, where I work, we have a huge team of designers who work with engineers to build a lot of features. They hired a big team of designers before even putting product managers or so UX designers, product designers are at its core, have a huge seat at the table. So that's been super interesting to think about as a designer. And yeah, the second point I wanted to bring up was how constraints is also a tool for creativity, and something that you might not think about. You might think about constraints in banking as this heavy regulated industry, a lot of compliance, a lot of things you need to take into consideration. There might not be so much innovation and creativity there. But I recently came across a study from Harvard Business School who had been taking a huge amount of effort into this research study about creativity and constraints and how actually it shows how constraints actually is not the thing that kills creativity, but whether you decide to embrace constraints or not. So when you start embracing constraints, you can act more resourcefully. You are able to sort of reserve your cognitive fuel, and you're able to have a better focus on the thing you're working on. So as a designer, you might have these constraints with regulatory compliance in the banking world, but that also allows you to really hone in on that specific thing and work through it. It becomes a really interesting UX design challenge to how do we create this optimal flow for a user while also making sure that they're compliant with the regulations. They're also making sure that, when you onboard a user, you collect a lot of the information. In the banking world, we have something called KYC, which is know your customer. And it's very important for banks and financial services to collect the right amount of information for the user. But for the user, you might just want to get onboarded and have this smooth, seamless UX onboarding, but you have to find that balance. So what I found was really interesting once starting to work in the financial technology space is how can I really see these challenges as something that can spark my creativity and innovation and create interesting things. So I think as a designer, banking and financial technology really pushes your limits and pushes you to become the best version of yourself as a designer. And so I think there's also this interesting thing around constraints and how banking and financial technology, how it's connected to emotions. So a lot of the times we might design a flow that we want to make a user delightful and spark joy and have them go through something that they really enjoy. Sometimes money can cause a lot of emotions that are, frustration or worry, or finance is not always something that a user wants to do, go in and check on their accounts or something like that. And a lot of people are anxious around it. So it's important as a designer to really embrace that too. Be thinking about how can I create a calming emotion around finance? How can I make sure that the user feels empowered? And so you're really working with users who are not always in the best state of mind, which I think is an interesting challenge too as a designer, and think about how can I make sure that I'm making them feel empowered, safe, that their money is stored in a certain way, and how can I make sure that they're also getting the right amount of information from the data that they're able to see. So I think as a UX product designer, you're able to really tap into those emotions and making sure that it's something that you can make them feel better around money and finance. And finance and money is not always the most fun thing, but it's a very important thing, and it's an important tool for every human to understand and know. So yeah, I think that's one of the interesting challenges as well. And yeah, I think another thing that it's really interesting with being a designer in the financial technology space right now is all of these new technologies coming up, such as crypto, we have Web3, blockchain, NFTs. These are things that have a enormous challenge that we're facing. We need to make sure that these things are creating a better world and not a worse world. And I think this is what's interesting with the new technologies is really like how can we have these new artists coming in, we have these new designers coming into the space and really creating something that's new and fresh. And that's literally look like, I go back a couple of slides, but does it really look like this? It looks like it's different. It has more of this artistry, creativity, that we all love, and it creates a whole new atmosphere for design in this space. So if I go further again to these companies, for example, they're trying to embrace this design visual language as well, that we really see are creating these more delightful emotions. They're trying to create a more soft, fun, warm tone that really sparks a lot of delight and joy and makes it fun to understand finance and be a part of that industry. So I think this is also something that's really happening right now, that's going to be a game changer for people in the in finance and as a designer as well. It makes it more fun to be in this space. So yeah, I think what's also interesting is, of course, the crypto, Web3, blockchain, NFTs. These are a lot of buzzwords, but they're also, they're having huge challenges. There's a lot of regulatory compliance that needs to be followed in this space as well. And you want to make sure that someone is collecting these things without also disrupting their own finances and having a safe space to do that as well. So yeah, I think 3 is definitely like these new technologies. It's an interesting challenge and exciting space to be in, but it's also has its challenges for sure. But that's one of the big ones too. I think number 4 that I wanted to talk about was change the game for women. And I think this is my last step here, but I think it's the one of the most important one that I am super excited about. I think especially as fintech is becoming, financial technology, online banking is becoming a new industry, something that we're not maybe used to, but it's really up and coming. And same for crypto, Web3, and these new technologies. We also have this opportunity to really change the game for women. Banking has been a long hundreds of 20, 50 years of men running those industries and leading those companies. It's my word, majority, but here we have a new industry coming up, and we really have this opportunity to create a more diverse leadership and a more diverse background for a lot of people. So yeah, that's a big one too. And I think when you have a new industry to work from, that also means that we can set the tone for what is that industry going to look like in the future, and how are we going to use tools such as finance and banking. It's really important that that's not only for a specific group in our society. It's important that we're all a part of building a finance and banking space and crypto space that is very inclusive, and everyone's have a seat at the table, and especially women, who has been looked down on for so many years. So yeah, that's a few things that I'm super excited about for being in the financial technology space. And then, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. I can keep talking about this, but I am happy to also start answering any questions that you guys might have. Yeah.
Ida, thank you for your wonderful presentation. And does anyone have any questions? Please type in Q&A box. So can I ask a small thing?
Yeah.
I'm so excited to hear that financial technology is a game changer for women, and I think that women as a user, women is encouraged by financial technology, and also as a designer like you, and there are a lot of opportunity to be successful in that field for women. So could you give a message to women who are interested in financial technology?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that, yeah, I think reaching out to other women who you see in that industry who know work at it, you're happy to take, you know, if anyone's interested, happy to chat about it as well. I think reaching out to women in that space and really creating a community around it is really, really important. So I would encourage finding mentors who are already in the space and you can learn from and be connected with. And yeah, I think creating a community around it is really important. I know that if you're interested in crypto space specifically, there's one community for women and non-binary people called Boys Club, which is kind of like a joke. But yeah, and they talk a lot about it and have a Slack channel and do like talks and stuff. So yeah, I think that and just reaching out to other and connect and build a community. I think that's what I did in the kind of early on when I was interested in this space, and it has helped me a lot.
Thank you so much. So, we are expecting a lot of audiences and who watch archive video afterwards, and we might receive some questions after this event. So then we will let you know, and please answer that questions.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, happy to answer any emails or LinkedIn requests. Yes. Right. Thanks for having me.
Oh, which is the best way to contact you? Email or LinkedIn?
Yeah, you can connect with my name is on LinkedIn. So happy to connect, or email is good too.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
And are there any questions? Okay, so it's okay. Thank you for your presentation. That was so insightful, and thank you for taking the time today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been great. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much.